Hey everybody, I recently made a video of my Notion setup, and this video is meant to be a behind the scenes look of how you can actually create that yourself or simply copy it if you want to. But I think getting this behind the scenes look will be valuable in knowing how to make changes and maybe add in some features that you want to your specific setup. So getting started, let me just create the pages for all the different databases that we have. So page number 1 will be inbox. We'll make that a list view. Second page is Second page is the Zettelkasten, and we'll make this a table view. Third page is modes, but we'll call this We'll call this one areas to keep things simple, and we'll make it a gallery view. Moving on, we also then have missions, which we'll call projects. We'll also make this a gallery view. Then we have milestones, which are effectively to-dos, which we'll make a table view. And then lastly, we have power-ups, which is basically, call it resources, and we'll also make this a table view. Alrighty, so let's get started adding in the different variables and relations that we need. So on the property side, really the only thing that we need is a checkbox. A checkbox for whether the node is active or not. And also, let's add in, we'll keep this created variable. I think it's, I think it's somewhat valuable to have to know when things are done. That's really it. So let's add a filter here to make this the active side of the inbox. So active is unchecked. Maybe I should make that variable archived, but I don't think it necessarily matters. And then we'll create a view for the archive for when this is checked. All right. So this is really that simple. We can move on to the Zettelkasten. And I'm going to try to do this in about 20 minutes or less. We'll see how we do. Okay, so we want the name, don't need tags, but what we do need is a relation to the resource. So let's add that in there. Call it resources. And then we also need a linked relation to other nodes. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see how this. So we want both. And if my memory is correct, let's go files, let's say ZK1, and then let's make this ZK3. So this would mean in this case that the ZK1 file is linking to us, and we're linking to the Zettelkasten 3 page. So let me just type this in here to know that we're linking to that. There we go. from, and then so let's make sure this is right. So this should have a linked froms that I'll cast into. Awesome. So it looks like that's correct. And then lastly, let's just add in a simple created variable. All right, that's really all you need. So we can continue moving. And let's go into areas. Areas, really simple. We have the gallery view. For the specific variables that we need, I don't think created is relevant, so we'll delete that. The only variable that we really need is a relation to projects. Okay, that's literally it. And let's create a new project here to see how this works when we go to the product page. I'm just gonna delete this because we don't need it. And I'll say area 1. Area 2. Area 3. Okay, and then just one quick thing on the view here. We're gonna do no preview and make this make the card size large. We don't need to see the missions. This is just meant to be a high level overview. And one thing on my page is, if you want, you can add in a nice description to remind yourself of what this page is and what you want to think about when you're on here. So let's just say the key areas of life to focus on. Alrighty, moving on to projects. Okay, so we have a few pages. Let me just delete this one. I'll rename this Project 2. And Project 3. Okay. Now we have a few more variables that we need to add in for the project. But let me first just change this one, areas. And let's also add in the where are we here? Date. Let's add in the duration of the project variable first. Okay. We also need a status variable, and let's change this to a single drop down, and let's add in some options. So we can say let's just leave it as simple as in progress, or yeah, in progress. Completed, and then we'll also have one for if the project is unsuccessful. Okay, so that can be our status bar. We'll leave the area bar at the top. We need to relate this to resources for any relative content that you're reading that's related to the specific project. So let's add in a relation related to resources, and let's throw this right there. We also need to link to to-dos. So let's add in another relation to the to-dos page. Okay. Okay, that's really all we need. And just one stylistic thing, let's take away the page content and leave these as they are. For the properties that we want to see, area. Yeah, let's leave area. We also want to see the status, but we'll leave this again. You know what? Let's actually we'll make another page for archive, and this archive is for the missions that are done, whether it's complete or status is unsuccessful. So these are all the completed projects. And then for gallery view, we'll call this active, and we will make this for all the active projects. Status is in progress. So if you change up those variables in progress to like on track or needs work, just make those, make sure to correct the filter here. And as you can see, projects 1 and 2 disappeared because they weren't allocated as currently active. Okay, let me actually do that really quick because it's kind of confusing. Make this in progress, and we'll make this in progress, and then we'll just delete this table view. So you can leave this, we'll just say like unlisted, just in case, so we don't miss anything. Alrighty, moving on to to-dos. So let's just say TD1, TD2, TD3. And instead of tags, we're going to make this a single drop down and switch it to 2 options: deep work and shallow work. That's literally it, and we can name it. We can name this type. Let's add in also a priority variable, and let's say P1 and P2. And then we have related to projects, so let's just simply make this projects. We also need a due date variable, which we can throw in. We can throw in right here. I also find that it's important to have a URL link in this specific type of to-do page because I clip a lot of things from the web using the Notion web clipper. So if I clip here and go to, let's say, to-dos, when it comes through, okay, you can see that the web link is stored as well. And lastly, and very importantly, we need to have a checkbox for the status. Okay. me just think here. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's wrap cells, and I'll just extend this URL page much further. Okay, now we do need a couple views here, so let's create an archive. And this is when status is checked. Great. We have the default view, which we'll rename to active, and also go to it. And this is when the status is unchecked. And then lastly, let's create a project specific view where, oh yeah, that's right, we can't do that. So let's create a, we'll name this you know what, we actually don't need that. I forgot that we couldn't sort by relations. So for active, the way that I like to do it is to sort by due date first. So let's just add in some numbers to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay. So I like to sort by due date first. So as we can see, that was correct. The second sort is by the priority of work, and that should be correct. If it's not, please let me know. And then lastly is by the type of work, which should be correct as well. Let's just double check. Yeah. And then if this is deep, yeah, it looks like that's all correct. Great. Okay. So that, I think we're good there. So moving on, let's go to the last part, resources, and I'm going to try to get this done in the next 4 minutes, but it may be a lot. Okay, so I have a creator tag on resources. I'm just going to quickly pull up my database so I make sure I'm not missing anything, because there is a lot here. Okay, I have a creator tag, status drop down, which we can add in right now, which is say ready to start, in progress, complete, partially complete, and then not available for any resources. So this is good. We already have project and Zettelkasten relations here. Let me just make this Zettelkasten for. Okay. We also need a tags for tagging the type of content of what type of content it is. So let's throw this in right after creator. That reminds me, we also need a type for the type of content, and this is easier. This can be a select menu we'll drop that down right under the creator. And for the time being, we'll do book, course, article, podcast. I'm trying to think if anything else is relevant. Video. I think that's probably good. Yeah. That's good for the time being. Okay, moving on. I also recommend having 2 minutes left. I also recommend having a value that the content brings, and for this one, let's just do, I have stars, but let's just do V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. So V5 is very valuable. It's, or you know what, this is actually unnecessarily complex. Let's just do 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5. I'm losing them here, they're disappearing on me. 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and lastly, 5 out of 5. Okay, so we have that in. That can go after the status. I have a key takeaway for each piece of content, which we'll throw in here. And then completed. We're almost done. Completed. We have links to projects that'll cast in. Again, URL is valuable for linking things from the web, so we'll throw one of those in. And lastly, let's do a last edited, so we can sort things up to the top. All right. It looks like we just beat the clock, but we need to do some, I need to do some views here. It'll make things much more simple. So we'll make this view called all. There we go. We'll do this view called all, and for this we'll sort by last edited. Oops. Sort by last edited. So this will bring the most recent page that you have worked on up to the top. And then let's do a view ready to start. Put all at the top. And ready to start is when the status is ready to start. And we'll also sort this. We'll also sort this by the last edited. Now I'm gonna duplicate this and create in progress. Quickly change the filter. Duplicate this, create completed. And quickly change the filter. And then I'm also going to do, let's make this a book. And we'll make this a book too. Okay. I'm also going to do a view for, a Kanban view For books, I find this to be really valuable, and we'll group it by status as they're recommending. And let's just make this a little bit prettier. I like having the preview on books. I clip most of my pages off the web, so they'll usually have a background, so we can leave that. The creator is valuable. We don't need the type. The tags are valuable. We can leave the value. It'll show up in the completed title. Key takeaway as well. Completed project. Zettelkasten. Yeah, we can leave all of this. We can leave all of this in here. I don't think it won't be too much. And then simply can move from one to the next. One thing we have to do here is filter the type by book. Where are we here? Type is book. Okay, this is the most complicated part of the entire system, but I think it's really valuable. I mean, especially if you're like me, I have over 400 pieces of content in my resources database, and having these additional views as well as variables to organize things correctly is really valuable. One last thing that I like to do is create a page for any highlighted pieces that have high ratings. So let's say this has a rating of, let's say R4. My computer's is fighting Loom right now. Okay, status is complete. Let's give it a value of, let's say 5 out of 5 actually. We'll give this a value of 5 out of 5, and we will make this R5 and also give it a value of 5 out of 5. Oh, it already does. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do here is filter by where value is 5 out of 5. So you can easily reference all the most valuable content that you've consumed. And we'll do it based off recency. Last edited. Descending. Okay, great. So that is pretty much it. Let me just add really quickly in these just add in these variables really quickly, at least some of the relevant ones. But otherwise, I think we're just about done. Know the value. Last edited. That's just about it. There is no clips for this specific setup, but I mean, simply anything will come that is clipped will come into this all pages, and it will just sit at the very top and won't have any tags accordingly. We can actually make that really quick, so you know what, let's just do it. We'll make it clips. We'll make this a gallery, and we'll put everything in here that doesn't have a categorization for the type, where type is empty. And I think there may be one more that I have in yeah, if type is empty or if status is empty. And that's it. Let's just quickly delete these pages on all for simplicity. Anyone, let's name this just R6, and we can delete this guy. Alrighty, so that's it. That is how to create a Notion database in maybe about 25 minutes. I didn't have a timer, but hopefully it wasn't too long. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at LiamHerbst29 and keep me up to date. Let me know if you use any of these pages. They're going to be publicly accessible, linked in the description here. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great one.